Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Sarah. I'm a mindset mastery coach, transformational hypnotherapist, and attachment style expert. I just recorded this whole two videos actually, and the sound didn't record. So this is try number 2. We are talking about the fearful avoidant and what they experience during the breakup, whether it's a breakup of a marriage or a long-term relationship or even a situationship. If you'd like a personal one-on-one coaching session or hypnotherapy session or a blend of the two, I have a 20-minute discovery call link in the description box. You can book it below. And please do like, share, and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel organically grow. So I want to get right into the nitty-gritty. And I hope I can remember everything that I talked about in the previous video because it was really good. So the fearful avoidant. I did a video, I think it was yesterday or the day before, on the dismissive avoidant. Actually, it was a video on avoidance and what they experienced during the breakup. But I wanted to really clarify what the fearful avoidant experience is because that one was sort of more geared towards the dismissive avoidant. Now, for all intents and purposes, and for transparency, I am a healing fearful avoidant, and I am going through a divorce with another avoidant. So I have this experience that I have gone through myself, but also just the clients that I have worked with. The fearful avoidant operates differently than dismissive avoidant inside of a breakup. And there's several reasons for that. The fearful avoidant has experienced different things in childhood and has different attachment wounds than the dismissive avoidant. So for the fearful avoidant, they have the betrayal wound, which obviously during a breakup, that's going to come online real hard, real fast. They also have the abandonment wound, and they also have wounds of not feeling seen, heard, or good enough, right? Like nobody understands me is what the fearful avoidant thinks. So the fearful avoidant in childhood had parents or caretakers that were intermittent reinforcers, meaning sometimes they gave the child, you or your loved one, sometimes they gave the fearful avoidant love and attention and affection, and other times they were ignored completely. Now, this can happen because the parents are emotionally neglectful or active addicts, or they could even create fear inside of the child. Like they don't know if they can go to the parent because sometimes the parent is accepting and loving, and sometimes the parent's kind of nasty, mean, or critical. So this creates a disorganized attachment style, aka the fearful avoidant, okay? We all know, and as I've said in previous videos, that from the ages of 0 to 7, that's when the fearful avoidant, or actually that's when any of us are basically in a state of hypnosis. Everything we're taking in everything like a sponge. So everything our parents are telling us, our caretakers are telling us, we believe to be true about life and the universe and how things work and how things operate, including ourselves. So our personality is being formed during that time, but also our beliefs, our inherent limiting beliefs are being formed at that time about money, about relationships, about love, about ourselves, about the world. So it's a very critical time from the ages of 0 to 7. And then even onward from there, we're still being affected by our parents. There's something called epigenetics and generational trauma. Generational trauma affects us in significant ways. We know now that we don't have to experience something traumatic in order to basically, like, we don't have to have gone to a place that was traumatic for our ancestors for it to affect us. Like, we could not want to step foot in a certain place and find out later it was because one of our ancestors had a traumatic experience there. Just an example, okay? It's very real and very powerful. So inside or on the heels of a breakup with a fearful avoidant, let's say you were the one that did the breaking up. Immediately, that wound of betrayal and I'm not enough is activated in that fearful avoidant. They're like, whoa, you've betrayed me. The ultimate betrayal is basically leaving a fearful avoidant high and dry. And oftentimes the partner has reached a point of no return with a fearful avoidant, because the fearful avoidant, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, is not a cakewalk. It's not a cakewalk to be inside of a relationship with a fearful avoidant. In fact, it's very challenging. So the partner has often made their decision to leave, and they're probably pretty, at that point, they're probably like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm leaving and that's that. And the fearful avoidant may be shell-shocked or feel blindsided, especially if they feel blindsided. They're going to, that fearful side, that anxious side is going to come out. But then it's quickly going to turn to the avoidant side for protection, for self-protection, guys. So that fearful avoidant, what you might experience if you've broken up with a fearful avoidant is they might cry And they might beg, they're going to go into anxious mode, beg for you to come back. I'll do anything. They'll plead, they'll bargain with you. And then when you don't accept their pleas, they're going to get pissed. And as I've stated in previous videos about the FAs, watch them if you haven't already, they're going to get nasty and angry. When they're angry, guys, their words are like daggers. They will throw insult upon insult and add injury to injury. They will say nasty things that they don't mean, but they're trying to get a reaction out of you, and they're hoping that you'll see things their way. Of course, they're going about it in a very emotionally immature way and in the very wrong way, like the worst way possible. But they're desperate at this point. Their nervous system is so activated, they're so dysregulated that they're desperate for any attention. They're desperate to turn the tables. And here's the kicker. Let's say you were to give in at this point. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to become avoidant again. They're going to turn the table because now they don't trust you. You've betrayed them. They're like, now I don't trust you. They're not doing this consciously. If they're an ethical avoidant, they're doing this subconsciously, guys. It's their nervous system that's dysregulated. So they're not doing this to hurt you. They're not doing this for any reason other than they're trying to protect themselves, and their attachment wound is at play. Their attachment wound is in charge at this point. So if you're going through a breakup right now and you're thinking about getting back with them, let them cool off, especially if you initiated the breakup. Now, they initiated the breakup. It's kind of a different story. However, I would still say if you initiated the breakup, give them space. Because they should be, if they're going to go through that flip-flopping, which we know that they are, disorganized attachment style. Sometimes I'm anxious, sometimes I'm avoidant, sometimes I'm a little bit of both. You don't know, right? They have many different faces and many different mood swings. Give them the space to handle their shit. This doesn't need to be flung on you, on their partner. They need to handle this on their own terms, okay? Let's say you're living together and you have to detach, maybe you have kids or property or you own a house together and it's going to take a little bit of time. This is what you're likely going to see from the fearful avoidant. You're likely going to see them, again, go from anxious to avoidant and flip-flop probably several times throughout the day, especially if you're still in sort of communication with them during this time. And if you're trying to make things civil, they're probably not going to allow that to happen because they're hurt. They're wounded, they're hurt, their attachment style is out, and their stinger is out. And they're like, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. It's just how they're protecting themselves. So it'll probably be, they're going to cry and beg and plead and bargain, and then they're going to get angry. And then they're going to cry and be upset and make promises that they know they even can't keep. And then they're going to get angry. And it's going to go like this until there's a severance and a detachment and you're able to go your separate ways. Now, what happens when you go your separate ways from the fearful avoidant? One of two things can happen. They're going to become extra clingy and they're going to become, because suddenly now you've moved on, right? You've moved out, they've moved out, somebody's moved out, and now they're on their own again. And that anxious side could kick in high gear and they're going to be like, uh-oh, this is scary. Oh God, I made a mistake. I don't want to be alone. Especially if they were the ones to initiate the breakup. So you might hear from them during this time, but they're going to appear pretty emotionally unstable. They're not going to have worked through anything at this point. They may not even understand that they're a fearful avoidant. All they know is that they want you back and they'll take you back under any conditions possible. Okay, that's not self-love. That's just them hoping that you'll save them from their own pain, guys. What you need to do is let them sit in it. If you're the one that initiated the breakup, they could still come to you, crying, begging, pleading. And again, even though you're separated now physically, this could go on. And then you'll get like a nasty text, or you could even, have a phone conversation with them and you guys are trying to sort of discuss what happened. They could easily go from anxious to avoidant within that conversation. And by the end of it, they could be throwing insults, and adding insult to injury to you into the situation. And then you're going to be like, oh my God, what is happening? But chances are you loved this person. You may still love this person. So it can be very confusing to you to be on the receiving end of this chaos. And it really is. It's disorganized. It's chaotic. It doesn't make sense. It's nonsensical. It doesn't even make sense to them. They're stuck in this vicious cycle in their own mind and their own emotions and their nervous system, which is telling them, be afraid, come close, go away, push, pull. I hate you. I love you. And they don't know how to regulate that. If they get into therapy at this point, that's a very good thing. They will learn how to regulate. They will learn about internal family systems, the inner rebellious teenager, the inner child, the inner parent, the inner critic. They will start to identify these parts and start to realize that they can meet their own needs. The anxious, when they go into anxious attachment, they think that you need to meet and fulfill all of their needs, every single one of them, that they're not responsible, but you are. And they're going to learn through therapy and through doing this work that actually they're responsible for meeting their needs. Nobody else externally is. Nothing externally is here to meet our needs, right? And even inside of the confines of a relationship or even a marriage, that person is not here to meet your needs. That person is here to support you in meeting your own needs. That's something that humanity hasn't quite figured out yet. But most of us are codependent to some degree or some level. If you're a secure person and you happen to fall in love with, date, or marry a fearful avoidant, you soon found out that they expect you to meet their needs when they were anxiously attached. Now, when they swung to the avoidant side, they might have disappeared on you. They went cold. They went stoic. They could have stonewalled you, especially when there were disagreements or inside of an argument. The truth is that when a fearful avoidant is swinging avoidant, they're trying to avoid. They don't want to deal with the pain or their emotions. They don't want to deal with the betrayals that they feel or that they've created, the stories they've created in their heads. Because fearful avoidants are the deepest feelers. And they will create stories to tell themselves about what happened and about how you really think about them, or about you were cheating when you came home 5 minutes late. They will create stories and then they will get pissed off. And suddenly you'll just be having dinner and suddenly the fearful avoidance like, oh, and by the way, 5 weeks ago, blah, 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 blah. Then the partner is like, what? What are you talking about? So the FA keeps tabs on everything you do. They're like detectives. They're the detectives of the attachment styles. That's the name I've come up for them. So they're the detectives, and they're absolutely trying to find reasons to leave. They're trying to find you doing something wrong to them. And if you don't do anything wrong, they're probably going to create something wrong. Why? Because inside of their childhood, the person that they loved, the person they relied on, ultimately betrayed them. Again, sometimes that person was available and there, and sometimes that person wasn't. And when that person betrayed them, it created a wound, an attachment wound that says, people who love me abandon me. People who love me betray me. I can't count on people. I cannot rely on people. This is similar to a DA, except the DA's is more extreme. The DA is like, I can't rely on anybody. The DA pretty much had a childhood where none of their needs were met. Maybe physical, but not emotionally. But the fearful avoidant, the difference, again, the major difference is their needs were met intermittently. So they came to expect it sometimes, and other times they didn't know when they were going to get it again. Can you imagine how confusing that is for the child and how that creates this disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style? So the best thing you can do if you're going through a breakup or a divorce with a fearful avoidant, honestly, is give them space to heal. And you can pray for them, give them space to heal, but I would detach for a while. Now, with a dismissive avoidant, they typically need like 3 to 6 months before they will even like test the waters and reach out. And usually it's going to be like something really innocuous, like, hey, did you see the, whatever last night on TV? And you're like, what? Why are you texting me this? The fearful avoidant is going to be more direct. They may even come out and say, hey, I want to have a conversation. I miss you. I love you. I've realized, XYZ. However, here's the thing, you've now become the person who betrayed them in their eyes. So if you start, like, let's say you want to get back together with a fearful avoidant, you realize they're doing their work, you've done your work, whatever the situation is. That person, that fearful avoidant is going to be a little mistrusting of you, probably a lot mistrusting for a while. So then it's going to be like, are you ready to prove your worth to this person? Because they're going to feel betrayed, especially if you were the ones, even if they were the ones that initiated the breakup, they're probably in some ways they blamed it on you, because an FA is really good at blaming things on the other person. So, and if you were the one that initiated the breakup, they're like, well, you initiated it. You didn't want to be with me. So like, why should I believe now that you do want to be with me? What's changed, right? They're probably going to grill you. They're going to expect you to have clear, prepared answers. You might feel like you're in a courtroom of sorts. My ex-husband and I used to say all the time, well, I feel like I'm in a courtroom. And he'd be like, so do I, because we were grilling each other, expecting perfection. Two avoidance, like dishing it out, with gloves on, not a good combination. especially to people who were unaware that they had these attachment styles. You bring self-awareness into the mix, and it creates a whole different dynamic, a more healthy dynamic also. So I'm losing my voice here. And I know there was more that I wanted to say. I'm so frustrated that I lost those first two videos that I created today. But I really wanted to get this video out for you guys. People have been asking for it. And I thought it was only fair, since I did a video that was more geared toward the dismissive avoidant and how they feel during breakups and divorces and what's happening when you detach from them. This is really what the fearful avoidant is feeling. They feel like they can't trust you. They feel betrayed. They feel abandoned. They feel rejected. And they definitely feel like they lost the person who, you know, saw them, understood them, and heard them. So they feel like they lost their safe place, their safe space. And that's really traumatizing for a fearful avoidant. Now they need to go lick their wounds. They need to go work on healing themselves and get themselves whole and get themselves more secure. And then you need to do the same thing, so that if you do come back together with this person, you're coming back from a totally different perspective and from a totally different vantage point. And both of you are able to hopefully, see things, see where you went wrong the first time around, so that you can do things differently. The beautiful difference between the FA and the DA is that the FA is much more capable of self-reflection. They actually want to do the work, right? Once they're aware, they want to do the work. They want to get healthy. They don't want to be this way, right? There's shame, right? Both avoidants experience shame and feel in being avoidant. We don't want to be avoidant. But the FA is much more likely to look within and self-reflect and actually process the breakup, which means they're going to be available in a more healthy way for the next relationship, whether that's with you or with a new person. So I hope this video was informative and helpful and inspiring in some way, whether you're the FA or you're dealing with an FA. I'm sending you guys so much love and support. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.